Just over 40 years ago, in 1984, a task force of civic leaders sowed the seeds of a statewide historic preservation nonprofit for New Hampshire. Judson Hale, editor of Yankee Magazine and unofficial steward of all things New England, chaired the task force, and attorney Carolyn Baldwin served as vice chair as they considered forming a unified voice for preservation advocacy, education, and networking. Member Martha Fuller Clark recalled that many intersecting factors prompted the group's commitment. First, a new wave of sprawling growth was drawing energy away from downtowns and village centers. Old buildings, including modest homes, were being demolished in favor of new construction and larger parking lots. Second, federal grant funds for identification and documentation of historic places offered a sense of opportunity. Consultants mapped the historic landscape of Canterbury Shaker Village, conducted archaeological excavations at the Temple Glassworks site, and carried out an underwater survey of the Piscataqua estuary. Additionally, Lynn Monroe and her team of 8 at the Rockingham Planning Commission were uncovering many other important places to investigate, document, and protect. Third, New Hampshire boasted nationally recognized local leaders of historic preservation projects, such as Portsmouth Preservation Inc.'s use of urban renewal funds for historic preservation in Portsmouth, or saving and transforming the mill village of Harrisville by Chick Colony, Jim Putnam, Rick Monahan, and others. But there was no statewide nonprofit to help knit together local efforts like Portsmouth and Harrisville and inspire others. New Hampshire only had a young, underfunded state historic preservation office, and they welcomed the idea of a new partner that would address needs they couldn't. In 1984, the task force held a pivotal retreat at the Christmas Farm Inn in Jackson to explore these forces and opportunities. Attorney Carolyn Baldwin described their purpose this way: New Hampshire's built landscape is an essential component of the resources for which we are responsible for present and future generations. Our villages, towns, and cities are every much as vital a part of New Hampshire's environment as are our mountains, lakes, rivers, clean air, forests, and farms. Inherit New Hampshire was officially launched the next year, with John Page as its first director. The board included a mix of task force members and new advisors. Over the next decade, this fledgling group built a statewide presence through publications, conferences, and advocacy. From the beginning, the group embraced productive collegiality between disciplines and commitment to positive outcomes, an approach often envied by preservationists in other states. At statewide conferences held in the 1980s in the State House, conservationists, developers, tourism and housing experts, historians, and archaeologists were all part of the discourse. At the organization's inaugural awards in 1989, artist Randy Miller received an award for his evocative woodcuts of rural life, and business leader David Putnam of Keene was honored for his extraordinary commitment to history, community, and preservation. A third award celebrated the preservation of a vernacular structure, the Lime Horse Sheds. In the 1990s, the growing organization began to offer tours and workshops to showcase regional preservation efforts and attract new members. Inherit New Hampshire also helped bring the National Main Street program to the state, a catalyst for downtown preservation and economic development in over 20 cities and towns. A major save of the 90s was the burned-out Belmont Mill. Carolyn Baldwin's 11th hour court injunction, the hard work of Jeff Taylor, Wallace Rhodes, and Chris Williams, and Richard Candy's and Paul Mursky's earlier experience saving mills in Laconia, held off the wrecking ball and supported a rehabilitation that brought a new level of respect and visibility for the preservation movement. Another milestone save of the decade was the protection of the archaeologically sensitive site of Monson Village, one of the earliest European settlements in interior New Hampshire. When a proposed 28-lot subdivision in Hollis and Milford threatened the site, Inherit New Hampshire joined a powerful coalition of dedicated neighbors, the Forest Society, the Division of Historical Resources, and the Army Corps of Engineers to save it. In the late 1990s, with multi-year support from the National Trust for Historic Preservation, the organization hired Jennifer Goodman as executive director and began expanding its services and impact with Liz Hengen, Alice D'Souza, Pat Myers, and other outstanding board chairs, boards, and staff. The name was changed to the New Hampshire Preservation Alliance to be clearer about its purpose. The original Inherit New Hampshire name has been revived for the group of supporters who have promised legacy gifts to the organization. Growing strength in the preservation movement and multiplying alliances led to 3 new synergistic programs in the 2000s. The New Hampshire State Register of Historic Places, managed by the Division of Historic Resources, or DHR, the Conservation License Plate Program, often called the Moose Plate Program, and the Land and Community Heritage Investment Program, or LCHIP for short. The Preservation Alliance took the lead to design and build the preservation side of LCHIP, defended its funding during tight state budget years, and is proud of LCHIP's assistance to 184 historic properties, leveraging over $65 million. LCHIP made an early grant to Roby's Country Store in Hooksett, a pioneering project that blended preservation and economic development under models also in use at stores in Canterbury, Francistown, and South Ackworth. Hundreds of historic places have been saved or improved thanks to tax incentives created through the shared efforts of the Alliance, the Legislature, DHR, and other partners in housing and community development, from downtown property rehabilitation to rehab-friendly school building aid policies. The Preservation Alliance's first preservation easement in 2006 for the Pearl of Portsmouth protects the earliest African American church in New Hampshire and is part of a larger movement to identify and protect underrepresented histories. Other easements across the state provide a way for families and community projects to meet long-term stewardship goals. The Preservation Alliance has helped save and reuse endangered species like beloved barns with a local option tax relief program, repair roadmaps, local inventories of historic barns, and popular summer barn tours. Preventing the loss of cultural landscapes gained renewed attention with the 2013 Northern Pass proposal for a 180-mile electrical transmission line from Pittsburgh to Deerfield. The Alliance advocated for historic resources along the route, while the Forest Society and others leveraged hundreds of additional voices concerned about the proposal's impact. The Preservation Alliance's help for property owners has led to hundreds of restored windows, unmusty basements, and repaired plaster, masonry, and siding. Our expanded grant programs and 7 to Save successes help nonprofit and municipal leaders tackle improvements to historic town halls, schools, houses of worship, mills, granges, museums, and much more. Our coaching and advice before critical town meeting votes has helped many local saves too. New career exploration programs have engaged high school students and next-generation preservationists. The Preservation Alliance is proud of that success and the impact we have had on people and communities in New Hampshire. But there's still work to do. There are many people, especially in our small towns, who are worried about irreplaceable landmarks, lack knowledge about preservation tools and how to get started. Declining membership and rising repair needs in religious, social, and fraternal organizations is leaving dozens of community meeting places vulnerable. Old schools, mill buildings, and big houses stand vacant or underutilized, while families lack places to live that are safe and affordable. Whether it's a church, school, or mill building, we need people to work on these places. The retirement of many historic building specialists is creating a serious challenge. If we don't have people to repair old windows, plaster walls, fix barn sills, and rebuild steeples, owners and advocates may avoid needed repairs or seek alternative solutions, even demolition. While preservation is often time-consuming and complex, success stories from some of our past preservation award winners offer lessons for the future and inspire us to stay optimistic. Daniel Webster Farm in Franklin, a campus of buildings now being adapted by Easter Seals as a veterans center. UNH's rehabilitation of its flagship Thompson Hall, its train depot, and the 7 to Save listed New England Center. Cliffhanger saves that spared places from demolition, such as the Eagle Block in Newport, the Chandler House in Manchester, the Rolfe Barn in Pennacook, the Gale School in Belmont, and the Gas Holder in Concord. Deep commitments to stewardship at the Greg Free Library in Wilton, the John Hay Estate at the Fells in Newbury, Frank Lloyd Wright's Zimmerman House in Manchester, and Castle in the Clouds in Moultonborough. Projects that were catalysts for community and economic development: Concord's Capitol Center for the Arts, Mountain View Grand in Whitefield, the Town Hall in Plymouth, Energy Park in Manchester, and the Colonial Theatre in Laconia. Enormous complex challenges, like the Wentworth by the Sea Hotel in Newcastle. Educators at Boston University and in Rye and Nashua, who developed classroom-centered projects at Creek Farm in Portsmouth, Rye's White Island Lighthouse, and an old industrial gatehouse building in Nashua. Creative, determined leaders are usually the spark and the steady flame. People who have won preservation awards, like Rob Stevenson in Jaffrey, Jean-Ann Farrar in Keene, Rebecca Mitchell in Stratham, Linda Ray Wilson, John Porter, Harry Kinter, Carl Schmidt, and many others. Completing a large or complicated project can take years. It requires tenacity and creativity. But the rewards of success are long-lasting and far-reaching, not only for the people and places involved, but also for the social and economic vitality of communities, a greater sense of belonging, and meaningful connection to the past. The Preservation Alliance has been fortunate to have had many committed and generous leaders among its network of board members, staff teams, advisors, and supporters for the past 40 years. As the organization prepares to take on the preservation challenges of the future, the Preservation Alliance remains committed to key values that it's had since the beginning. A commitment to nurture and enhance the love of special places by both newcomers and longtimers. A desire to support and leverage citizens' commitment to civic engagement. And an approach that is collegial and solutions-oriented as we celebrate the power of preservation to transform and strengthen people and communities across our state. The Preservation Alliance's constituents often say thank you, with comments like, "Thanks for sticking with us," and "We couldn't have done it without you." Well, we say the same things back to you. Thanks for sticking with us. We couldn't have done it without you. Let's move forward together at 40. There's so much more to do.